After my personal struggle with food left me sick and suicidal, I was struck with the realization that food alone can't fix us. So I set out to discover what could, and what I found changed everything. After coaching thousands of clients and interviewing the world's leading experts, I realized it was time to start a bigger conversation. What are you really hungry for?
It's great.
Ooh, good one.
What am I really hungry for?
I love that question.
It's time to discover what you're really hungry for. What does it take to stage a comeback? What kickstarts a comeback, and how do people become motivated and inspired to truly transform their lives? We all write our own stories. We are the authors of our own lives. We are the ones that choose what will happen next in our own stories. Will we choose to be the hero or the victim? Will we choose to go out every day and become the best, most amazing person that we can be? Or will we crouch down in fear? Will we be immobilized and paralyzed by the challenge of making new choices, of taking responsibility for our lives, of taking a hard look at ourselves, and of doing things differently so that we can become the best possible versions of ourselves? Or will we stand tall and face that challenge head on and live up to our potential? We all have an aha moment in our lives. I had my own. I hit rock bottom. Sitting on the floor one night after a long period of struggling with body issues, depression, and exhaustion, I seriously considered suicide. I had had enough, and I realized that I had two choices. I could give up on my life and myself and throw in the towel, or I could reconnect with a higher purpose, a higher spiritual force, if you will, and find my way out of the darkness. As soon as I saw that there were only two choices, things became very clear to me. I knew the choice to make. I knew that I was meant for something greater. All the hardship that I had experienced led me to a point where I was forced to make a decision about how I wanted to live my life. I was pushed to the point of not going back. I was pushed to the place where I realized that it was time to make a comeback. It was time to change my life and to become the woman that I was meant to be. See, hardship isn't a curse. Hardship is information that's presented to us so that we're forced to make a choice. We all have hardship in our lives. We all fall down and we wonder if we could ever get back up again. But you have to make a choice. You have to decide that you are worth it and that you're ready to invest in yourself and your dreams. You have to look deep within yourself and realize that you have more strength, more stamina, more resilience, and more courage than you have ever imagined. See, you are your own hero. You just have to step up and recognize that your choices are what make you a hero. So if you're ready to stage your own comeback and become the hero of your own story, then you're really in for a treat. My guest today, Dr. Kyrin Dunston, staged her own unbelievable comeback. She was a board-certified physician and highly successful OBGYN who was 100 pounds overweight with a myriad of health difficulties, including fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, and hair loss. She was on an emotional roller coaster ride where she relied on food and TV to feel better about life and to ease her depression. She lost her confidence and self-worth. She lost her passion for life, her interest in hobbies. She had no social life and no sex life. Then she had a spiritual awakening. She began to lose weight naturally and eventually lost over 100 pounds. Today, Dr. Kyrin will share her secrets to making a comeback so you can do the same. So, Dr. Kyrin, I guess my first question to you is, how does a doctor become 100 pounds overweight?
Good question, Cynthia.
Shouldn't you know better?
You should, but look around it. Many doctors smoke, overeat, don't take care of themselves, but also they're in a mainstream medical model that really isn't about getting healthy. It's just about getting rid of disease or controlling symptoms with drugs. So I was in that model, so I really didn't know the proper way to eat and the proper way to care for my body, because despite the fact that I had gone to medical school and was board certified, that was not what it was all about. It was all about just disease.
So tell me, paint a picture for me, if you will, of what your life looked like. You're a busy doctor. You don't know how to eat. You weren't taught that in med school. Your life is insane. Tell me about that.
Yes, life was insane. So I was an OBGYN and oftentimes would work all day in the office, be up all night at the hospital, and then work the next day. Sometimes this went on for days on end. So sleep deprivation, catching food on the go, just whatever's handy and grabbing it. No time really for myself, for downtime, no time for exercise. So it was fairly insane. Also, I was a wife and a mother, and I ran a practice. So lots of busyness interfered with me taking care of myself.
Wow. So what happened? Like, what was that aha moment where you thought things have got to change?
I had a huge aha moment, Cynthia, about 2004. I used to have these breakdowns because I just felt like I was responsible for everything in the world. And I was also the breadwinner in my family, and I would just have these breakdowns every month where I would just say to my husband, you know, when do I get a break? When do I get a freaking break?
Yeah.
And one day I was riding a horse and I got thrown off the horse. And when my foot hit the ground, I knew that it was broken, and I knew it was broken because I had asked for a break. So I got a literal break in my foot, and I got a break from work. And so all of a sudden, I had this realization that I thought I had to do everything and I was responsible for everything. But I realized that I had spoken this into the universe and the universe had delivered. And so I really started doing some work around what is this energy that I spoke this into? And if I could speak something negative into it, I could speak something positive. So I started reading and praying and meditating and really learning about this energy. And that was my aha. The world doesn't work the way I think it works. It works this other way. So that was my real aha moment.
So you call it, we talked before, you called it a spiritual awakening.
Yes.
What does that mean exactly? Like, I think, we say that a lot. I've certainly had my own, but for someone maybe who hasn't experienced that and they hear the term being tossed around, what does that mean?
And that's a great question. So I like to tell people right up front, I'm not talking about religion, because when you start talking about religion, people get up in arms. I'm talking about spirituality. So to me, that's a realization that I am not this human body. I am a spirit that is eternal and always was and always will be. And this body is just a vehicle that I use in this time-space reality to grow, develop, and unfold and evolve. It's a realization that we are all connected and that I am not ever alone, and I don't do things alone as this human body. I do them with everyone else. We all are kind of fingers of this energy.
It's interesting what I see when people have these breakthroughs, breakdowns, awakenings, whatever you want to call it, is that things shift in a big way because you get new information and more aha moments. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. I don't like the way this is going. So tell me what happened. You have this awakening. You physically are broken at this point, and you start seeking out this knowledge, and you're learning, and you're elevating yourself. What happened next?
Well, so with the really getting in touch with my divine nature and that I'm not this body, that I'm this spirit, I really started surrendering to what was my higher calling here on this planet at this time, and just let go of trying to direct and control it myself. And my prayer became, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me to say, and to whom? That became my prayer. So I just surrendered my entire life to whatever it was that this energy wanted me to do in this life. And what ended up happening was I became introduced to this thing called functional medicine. I think that once I opened myself to, instead of me being self-directed and trying to make things happen the way I thought they should happen, then things flowed into my life, and all of a sudden I learned about functional medicine. And that was what allowed me to get physically healthy once I had that spiritual awakening.
I agree. And it's interesting when we decide to change things, things change. And for some women, men too, I feel like it can be a very scary thing. You know, we have these awakenings and things aren't as we thought they were. Right. So if this is our comeback, sometimes we're like, I don't want to. It's scary. And it takes a lot of courage. I mean, relationships with people change. Like everything in your life shifts because you see things differently. Yeah. What do you tell your patients who are like, I want to wake up, but not really?
And if you had told me 10 years ago that I would now be sitting here with you and I would be divorced and the beautiful home that I built, I wouldn't be living in anymore, and my office building and my practice and my whole life would have been transformed, I would have said, no thanks. I don't want that. I'm good. Right? So knowing that up front, I think, is a little bit overwhelming. So it's 24 hours at a time. Mm-hmm. We just have to do what we have to do today and put one foot in front of the other. But once we start seeking wholeness and seeking health and seeking our greater purpose, and you get on that path, things are going to change. Mm-hmm. And knowing that you will always be okay, that you are always okay, no matter what the outside looks like. I think that kind of pre-spiritual awakening, I was very attached to how things looked. Mm. You know, who were my relationships with? What did my house look like? What kind of cars did I have? And now that is totally irrelevant. What's relevant is, how do I connect with people? How do I serve people? How do I turn my pain into my purpose and help others? So I don't talk to my patients right up front in my programs about, wow, you're going to have to change everything about your life. I just help them with my kind of experience, strength, and hope, show them what I've been through and help and guide them. Mm-hmm.
So I think that I feel better. It makes it a little easier for me to go into that. But you know, the other thing too, because I think you're 100% right. The other thing I feel is that we cannot keep the same lives that we had. Things cannot stay the same. And when you're in it, you don't want them to. You know, maybe in the beginning, if you would say, look, your entire life is going to change, that might be a little scary. I don't know if I'm ready for that. But if it just naturally comes and I'm naturally transforming, I kind of want that change because I wasn't happy with the way things are. Or were.
Yes, and that's a great point. And so one thing I like to say to people is, I know that you want this health in this body over here. Mm-hmm. You cannot be the same person and have that.
Yes.
You have to transform from the inside out. So your perceptions are going to have to change, the way you think about things. You're going to have to change your actions and your attitudes. Mm. So you're going to be a different person. So the transformation that you see on the outside when I work with people who are losing weight and getting optimally healthy is just a reflection of the inner transformation. So really helping people to understand that, because as long as they hold on to the way they were, thinking the same thoughts, doing the same things, having the same operating system, they may be able to force a change for a while and maybe lose 15, 20 pounds, or I've even seen more. But eventually you're going to go back, because the energetic blueprint of your physical body is your spiritual body. And so that is what creates your physical body. Your physical body is just a manifestation of your spiritual body that is about this big. And so if you don't change that, you're never truly going to change this. So working with people to understand that. And it's a big leap for people. They say, what are you talking about, Dr. Kyrin? When I work with them with my Awakening the Bikini Code program, they say, like, what? What? Say what? So, and it's not anything that they taught me in medical school. It's stuff that I had to learn for myself.
You talk about like this, the size and it'll last for a little while. You can lose the weight, but then it comes back. Is that why we yo-yo diet? Is it really a spiritual disconnection that we have? Like, and when we're losing the weight, we're tapped in, we're more clear, we're more authentic. We know what we want. We feel good. We're spiritually in alignment. And then maybe something happens and we're not, and that's why we gain the weight back. Do you think that's where yo-yo dieting comes from?
I think any disease or dis-ease in the body is a message. It is not the problem itself. It's a message to you to pay attention. So with weight in particular, one of the exercises that I do with people is dialoguing with the fat. And really, we get into kind of a meditative state, and sometimes you can use left and right hand writing. And so you'll ask the question with your right hand and write the answer with your left hand. So back and forth.
Oh, wow.
But I do a dialoguing with them about, what did the fat come here to tell you? What is the message that it's bringing? What need is it serving? Because it wouldn't be in your life if it weren't serving some need. And a lot of times, for a lot of women in particular I work with, the message is some type of protection.
I think that's beautiful. And so for women who come to you and they say, I need help, and we talked about this earlier, like nobody comes to you and says, oh, I'm overweight, I don't feel good. It's just those deep-rooted issues from when I was a kid. Nobody does that. We don't have that knowledge, right? So they come to you and they say, I need to lose 15 pounds by Friday. You know, I want to get this weight off finally. How do you respond? Like, what's the first thing you would do, or maybe the first few bits of information that you would give them to start that journey?
So, well, I definitely give them the functional medicine tools. So, for instance, in my 6-week program, Cracking the Bikini Code program, I give them all the supplements they need, 8 different supplements. I tell them how to eat. I get that set because people want what they want, and they want the tools right away.
Yeah.
And I also start working with them on, what is your vision for your health? What does your body look like? What does it feel like to be you at this new weight that you want to weigh? And then more than that, what does your life look like? How are you expressing your career and your creativity? What do your relationships look like? So I have them do a vision, Cynthia, and we do that vision. So I'm so happy and grateful now that I weigh 140 pounds and I wear those skinny jeans that I love. And, you know, so and people say how great I look and they think I look 20 years younger. So I get them to write it kind of as if it's already happened. And so kind of harnessing the power of creation, the I am. So that's one of the first things that I do, is set the vision. And once they can start living from the vision, the kind of pleasure starts to pull them instead of the pain pushing them. It's way more, it has way more energy behind it.
Yeah, it's way more motivating, right?
Very motivating.
Yeah. So, Dr. Kyrin, as you know, the name of the show is What You're Really Hungry For. I want to ask you, because I ask every guest that comes on, what are you really hungry for?
I love that question. I'm really hungry for exactly what we're doing here. We're having meaningful conversation, soulful conversation, honest conversation. I am hungry for that with everyone I meet. I want to know who they really are, what makes them happy, what lights them up, what is their passion, and what is their purpose here on earth, and sharing my kind of gifts that I have with other people.
Well, thank you for sharing them. Thank you for sharing them with us here today. And just thank you for the work that you're doing in the world, and truly the example that you're being for so many women everywhere. You're such an inspiration to me and to people around the globe. So thank you for being you.
Oh, thank you, Cynthia. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for being you and all the work that you do. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This week is all about the comeback. We have all had our difficulties in life, but it's never too late to come back, even from the most difficult life circumstances. So I invite you to choose one of Dr. Kyrin's tips that she discussed during our show and start implementing it in your life today. What one thing can you do today to start your own comeback? Don't wait another day or even another hour. Start to turn your life around right now. As always, the conversation continues at CynthiaPasquella.com. Head on over and leave a comment below this video telling me the one thing that you will do to begin your comeback today. And while you're there, make sure you download today's free menu to track your progress. You'll find inspirational quotes from today's show and a daily checklist to keep you on track. It's located right below this video at CynthiaPasquella.com. Did you like this video? If you did, please subscribe, and I'd be so grateful if you would share it with your friends. And if you want to hear more from me, including stuff I only talk about in email, then come on over to CynthiaPasquella.com and sign up for my email newsletter so you can be a part of this beautiful community of women who are discovering what they are really hungry for. This episode is brought to you by the Institute of Transformational Nutrition. Discover the secrets to becoming a go-to expert in nutrition coaching while making great money on the side or even enjoying a new career at www.transformationalnutrition.com. On next week's episode of What You're Really Hungry For, what is that process like to shift the negative over?
Right. We think that we're rolling with our conscious mind, which is the side of us that says, I just want a happy life. I just want a great partner, and I'm going to just do X, Y, and Z, and it's going to happen. And we don't understand that 95% of what's going on underneath the surface is our subconscious mind at work that has all of those programs.